This is Pucks in 7 with Ryan Paton and Victoria Matiash.
Okay, so when we decided that Monday, today, the 6th of October when we thought that this was, look, you're just reaching for something. Vic is a prop with this season preview show.
Somebody, one of us, is turning a bit of a milestone today. I'm not permitted to say, but I think everybody could probably launch an educated guess.
I think so, right? Yeah.
It's happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
My favorite podcasting partner, one of my favorite pals. And welcome to the club, buddy.
Yeah. You just gave it away.
Yeah. All right.
Hey,
happy birthday, Ryan. Let's move on.
Yes,
absolutely.
thank you, my dear.
Of course it is. Of course it is.
When we decided to do this on the Monday, made perfect sense because the NHL starts tomorrow, which is Tuesday
right.
the 7th. And this is our preview show. We can't wait. We've been waiting a long time for this season to come, and it's going to get going again tomorrow, and then Wednesday, and then all 82 games for every single team. Coming up in the show, we'll take a look at each division, dive into that, give you our cup winners, predictions, Hart Trophy. Can't go through all the trophy winners, but let's talk.
No, I want to talk Hart though. Let's focus on the Hart for now.
Yeah, we'll talk Hart. Greg Wyshynski, colleague of yours, great at what he does, senior writer, NHL, ESPN. He'll join us too. We'll go into the season to come. Different storylines coming out of camp, going into the campaign, and then 77 seconds in with Greg as well, our signature segment. So the original lineup you sent, Vic, was, okay, let's start maybe in the Atlantic Division, go to the Metro, go to the Pacific, and so on, and then get no.
Because something happened today.
Something did, yeah.
Right.
I kind of wish I was him because this would have been a good birthday present.
Right.
Connor McDavid, the one and only, all that discussion now as to is he going to stay in Edmonton? Is he going to leave Edmonton? How long is he going to sign for? Where's he going to sign for? That is now done as he agrees to a 2-year extension with Edmonton, $25 million total, Vic, AAV 12.5.
So we actually owe Wish a big thank you as well because he was only able to join us today in the afternoon. We would usually do this in the morning. Yes. And this news dropped late morning, and you and I would have been kicking ourselves having recorded our pod. And then we would have had to go back and address it, obviously, because that's just – so we owe Wish for that, first of all. We'll get his take on this later. When this first flashed across my social media screen, Ryan, I saw the 2 years, and I thought – holy jumping. Okay. Mm-hmm. We knew it was going to be short, but you and I thought 3-4, right? Yeah. I don't think we really
last
thought.
Week it was more than likely 3. Yeah, go ahead.
3. So, I mean, we're not too far off. But then I saw the number. I saw the 25 million. And my first thought was, holy Henrietta, he's getting 25 a year. Mm. I didn't put together the math that was 25. And what makes more sense? 12.5 for Connor McDavid, taking there's hometown discounts, Ryan, but this is bananas. It's 12.5 for McDavid, or 25 makes more sense considering, if it was, he wasn't going to get 20.
Tell me why.
Just because he's the best player on the planet and you got to pay him.
That's right.
I know you should feel vindicated. I am absolutely going to give you your moment because last week I'm sitting here going, he has to get 17.5 because Kirill got 17. Oh, I eat everything. I eat my wrongs.
No.
But, and you said no, he's going to take a team friendly deal. Mm-hmm. Now, did you expect it to be this? No. Team friendly? No. You were thinking 15, 14 million, something like that, right?
I was thinking close to Leon or just above Leon, which would make a lot of sense, right? Because yes, you're the best player in the game, but and we both agreed on the 3-year contract.
12.5 million.
Yeah, the first thing I thought about was, again, what we talked about last week, and I said, look, I'm adamant on this guy that he wants to win and that he's going to do what it takes to win. Money does not mean as much to him as, say, somebody else, maybe Kirill Kaprizov, which we talked to Greg about later on. Mm-hmm. But the point is, this deal now, this sets the table for Edmonton. There is so much pressure on this team. They have 2 years, Vic, essentially 2 years.
Three. They have 3 years.
2 years with the extension kicking in.
Yeah.
That they need to put a winning team on the ice. Now, have they been close? Yes, you're as close as any team can come to winning the title. Yes. Those pesky Panthers getting in the way of their championship. I understand that. But again, there's one team that wins the Cup, and the Cup is the ultimate award. And Connor McDavid, by doing this, you look at I actually pulled it up. I'm just going to do this now. So you look at the contracts now on Edmonton. Oh, okay. For 26-27, Leon's still atop at 14. Then McDavid signed at 12.5. Even just that in itself is odd. And then there's such a massive gap, and that could change. This is talking about the forwards, not the defense. There's a huge gap between McDavid going into next season and the third highest paid player on the team when it comes to forwards. That's Hyman at 5.5. I've also maintained this for so long. It doesn't matter if you have a McDavid. It doesn't matter if you have a Draisaitl on the same team. You're not going to win. You're going to come close, but you're not going to win if there's such a massive gap in salary between that. I would much take, say, 3-4 players at 6 or 7 or 8. And this is what McDavid's doing, Vic. He's saying to the team, okay,
I know.
I'm going to give you cap room.
But you're on the clock.
Year. Yeah,
but
exactly.
you're on the clock now.
Good on him. Good on him for how he handled this. I thought it was great. And this, I also believe, is kind of like a turning point when it comes to these tremendous hockey players and athletes, putting the team ahead of themselves, but not handcuffing them to longer than, say, a 2 or 3 year contract.
But we're not going to see this from Jack Eichel. Jack Eichel's going to sign for term. And I think other players are still going to take a different direction, especially older players like Jack Eichel. You kind of want to sew it all up, but to gamble on yourself like this, and it's not a tough gamble because he's the best player in the world, but still life can still happen, Ryan. Life can still happen. So just to sign the 2-year extension, I'm still blown away. It's going to take me a while to digest this one, but good for the Oilers. And they can do stuff ahead of the trade deadline. They have the space. They can, pretty much massage their team how they like with whatever is out there. But all right, congratulations, Connor. Let's move on. Let's talk some hockey. But $25 million for 2 years is not in any way, shape, or form how I thought this was going to look.
No, and I'll be honest.
I knew it was going to be short, but not the money.
I knew it was short. The money I thought was going to be less than the
Wild.
Capri's up, but I didn't think it was going to be the 12.5.
All right.
You know what? We're going to go to the Atlantic, but we won't do that. Let's just shift gears and segue into the Pacific. Why not? Because we're talking about Edmonton, right? So if you look at that Pacific division, looking into the preview now, yes, Edmonton is primed and ready to go again to make a long run, and they hope that it's going to be finally one where they hoist Lord Stanley's mug at the end of it. The West, as a conference, which we'll also dive into the Central in a second, the West as a conference, like the East, they have a lot of teams that can win this thing, that can come out of the Western Conference. I'm going to throw this at you as we begin this preview, the section of the Pacific. Maybe comes the Western Conference. I do believe that even out of Colorado and Dallas, and we'll talk about the Central in a second, I think Vegas is the front runner for me. I think you agree in the Western Conference.
I do. They're and you submitted your picks to Burse already, did you? Okay, so did I. So this is all locked in. We can't waver now.
Nope.
I'm not going to change my mind and pick Edmonton instead, just because maybe the future this season looks a little bit brighter because now there is some more wiggle room. Although credit to that. I look at this Vegas Golden Knights team that was one of the best teams last year, and now you added one of the best playmakers in the game in Mitch Marner, and the rest of the makeup of the team is still very, very good. And you're looking at the second line now when you have the luxury of playing Mark Stone on the second line, and it's not so top-loaded anymore because of the addition of Mitch Marner. I know the loss of Pietrangelo isn't nothing, and now it sounds like maybe his career isn't over, which is a nice thing to hear. But he's going to be out for a bit. He's going to be out for a bit. But top to back, this team, I like Aiden Hill in that. There's no weakness for me here. There's no Achilles heel on this team. They're just so stacked. And if you're looking at a weaker Pacific division compared to the Central, I mean, you're looking at Edmonton and LA maybe, and then there's a drop off to teams that are up and coming. They're up and coming, Ryan, but they're not. The Anaheim Ducks ain't there yet. San Jose's got a ways to go. So it's Vegas for me for sure.
The Pacific seems to me to be kind of like the Atlantic. We'll go in the Atlantic in a bit, but with like the top 3 teams in the Atlantic for a while. I mean, put Boston aside for a sec, but you have your Floridas, you have your Tampas, you have your Torontos. Pretty much after the 82nd game is played, 1, 2, 3. Same thing with that Pacific. To your point about the drop off after those 3 teams that you did mention, Edmonton, LA, and the Vegas Golden Knights. This is Vegas's division to lose. Mitch Marner.
I agree.
I've said this about Zach Hyman. He's had the luxury of playing with Austin Matthews, and he's had the luxury and still does playing with Connor McDavid, 2 of the greats to play the game. Mitch Marner now had the luxury of playing with Matthews, and now he gets to play with Jack Eichel, who, again, is up there and the top players in the game. You put that line out there of, say, Marner and Eichel, I don't know, throw in Barbashev, say, just to make it a threesome.
I love him on that line.
Too.
I like Ivan Barbashev on that line. And look at their power play now. Their power play last year was the second best in the league.
Yeah.
And they just added Mitch Marner to it.
That's crazy.
right? So you can move Dorofeyev off and,
Yep.
wiggle things around a little bit. But yep, so we're both on the same page. It's more fun to argue, but I can't argue with you on this one.
No, we can't. We can't. Let's go Central again. Greg Wyshynski's going to join us in a bit too. We'll get his thoughts on the divisions and the McDavid signing. Of course, in case you're just tuning into your contract, $25 million extension at 12.5 AAV. What about the Central? Let's go to the Central and kind of rapid fire through these divisions. Maybe the same thing as the Atlantic as well. You have your
Top
Dallases, you have your Colorados,
You have your top three.
and you have your Winnipegs, right? So
Yep.
I don't necessarily see that changing. The order perhaps 1, 2, 3, but I don't think that top three is going to change.
There is, and then there's a bit of a gap, and then I have another grouping: Minnesota, St. Louis, and Utah. I find
Utah.
that they're
Okay.
in that second. The Utah is going to challenge for a wild card. I'm not necessarily saying that they're going to earn one.
That Logan Cooley reportedly turned down that huge extension, 8 years at $70+ million. He didn't like it, so he decided to can it.
It's interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, carry on.
So then there's that, and then there's the other teams.
Yeah. No, I agree.
National Predators, and I think the National Predators are going to have a much better season. Chicago's still Chicago. That's a long road ahead. So out of the top three, we all obviously have to pick one, and to me, it's the Dallas Stars.
Nashville, just getting to them for a sec, they need to have a better season. Remember how much noise they made in the off season in 24-25, and then
we were all so excited.
Everyone would think, okay, but that just goes to show again, sports is nuts. It doesn't matter, and in this case, it didn't. If you signed the most coveted free agents in the NHL in that season, or whatever, re-sign them, whatever deals you make, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win. But I'm going to go with. Sorry, you said
Dallas Stars. I can't get over the Rantanen. I can't get over the Rantanen edition. I'm
Welcome
so
back to Pucks and Seven with Ryan Paton and Victoria Matiash.
It was almost a coin flip for me, but I just couldn't stop. I like the Ottinger deal. It's time for him to show us his best self.
Yeah.
He's now like, listen, buddy, you've had your opportunities to fumble a little bit. No more. You're getting paid. You got rid of the coach essentially from the team as well. Now you got Golitzin in there and having Rantanen on that top line now, and all the depth, the flexibility that Golitzin has in moving players around. You can have Jason Robertson here. You can have Rupe Hintz here. You could just shift. You could put Wyatt Johnson. You want him as your third line center? Sure. You want him on the wing up front in the top six? Sure. There's just so much flexibility. And again, like Vegas in the Pacific, I don't see any weaknesses. But sell me on Colorado.
Gabriel Landeskog, I think, is going to be a big factor, right?
Yeah.
It was a big story last year. Everybody wanted to see him come back, and he ended up doing that healthy. And it was actually part of our show last week when we looked at some of the comeback kids, Jonathan Toews, Gabe Landeskog, hoping that that's going to be a good season. I really do feel that you can't, as good as Dallas is, I'm not saying they're not, and as good as Winnipeg is, I'm not saying they're not. You just can't discount when the fact you have one of the best players in the game. Dallas has great players too, so do the Jets. But you have Nate McKinnon. And then on the back end, you got the Norris Trophy, the best defenseman in the game, in Cale Makar. I just think when you have those two pieces, and to your point about Dallas's depth, what Jim Nill and company have done in Dallas, same thing's been done in Colorado. They have good depth as well. It's a toss-up to me. So if I'm trying to sell you, maybe I'm just selling you the fact that they have Nathan McKinnon. And Dallas does not. So I know that's not a huge sell job. I get it.
Like
this division's tight for me. It is. As much as I do feel Colorado's number one, it could go. I don't believe Winnipeg is going to have the season that they did a year ago.
Why?
82 games.
I don't either. Why?
I think that sometimes when that happens to clubs, look what happened to Boston a few years ago when they 180 points. I know it was 100. You know what I mean? They didn't do as well next season. It's
and they sunk. Yeah.
I just don't think it's sustainable, that level. And I don't believe that Hellebuck is going to be as good. I think he's going to have to work through some kinks, that the ones that we saw in the first round of 24-25, the ones that were 23-24, then the ones that we saw in the first round of 24-25. They can't go anywhere without a healthy and confident Hellebuck, and it was proven again in the playoffs last season. So I think it's going to be different. The bar is set high. I just think that it's hard to duplicate such a season to do it the year after.
They're still a playoff team, though, right? They're still a playoff team. Okay, they're a playoff team. I will give you the second line on Colorado now. It's that new second line. If you have a healthy Gabriel Landeskog, you've got Nelson now as your center. That happened last year. And if you can have a healthy Valerie Nichushkin, who's just a truck.
He's
out
such
there.
an X factor pick. He's such an X
He's
factor.
massive.
Yeah.
If he can stay healthy, because that's been the biggest bugaboo, and hey, we're talking mental health and physical health because he's had his fights as well. If he can stay out there and he can stay fit and he can stay healthy, and Gabriel Landeskog can play at 90% of what he used to be, and now you got Brock Nelson in the middle.
Yeah.
Holy Henrietta, Ryan, that's a hell of a second scoring line. And you have Nathan McKinnon, as you mentioned, as your top center on your top line. Who, Nelly? It's going to be fun.
And he's my, he's my crush. You know that.
Yes, I know that.
Yeah,
you love him.
For those that don't, now you do. Okay, 2 more divisions to get through. Let's go east. We've done the Pacific, done the Metro. Again, this is quick because we could talk for hours about it, but that's not the point of this. Just kind of give us our picks and move on. Let's go to the Metro. I'll tell you who I am looking at as being that number one. Let me just throw this at you to begin this segment when it comes to that division. Do the Rangers get back into? You're nodding yes?
They sure do.
Okay.
I trust the whole. I love the naming of JT Miller as captain.
Oh, me too.
Because
Me too.
the Rangers are not messing around. Because he's not going to lead quietly by example. He's going to scream at people. Yeah. And I think maybe this Rangers squad needs to be yelled at a little bit more. Now you got Sullivan behind the bench. Mm-hmm. So I think it's going to be, there's not going to be a lot of room for nonsense. And last year was nonsense. Nobody played well enough. There was just too much drama. Now they're set.
Yeah.
The people who didn't need to be there are gone, right? You got Panarin playing for his next contract. Adam Fox is going to be better. Shesterkin is going to be better. They are a playoff team to me. They don't win the division. We'll get to that in a second, but they are a playoff team. What do you think?
Anytime it comes to this discussion of a playoff team getting back into, say, the top 3, I'm not even talking the wild card. Let's just say the top 3 in that division. Then one team has to go out.
I know.
So I'm going to say that they're going to teeter on the edge. Part of me wants to say that they are going to make it in, but at the same time, I don't know. I don't have as much confidence as you do. And again, I don't have really an explanation as to why. Maybe it's also because in that Metro, I don't think that Carolina Hurricanes are going to take a huge step backward. I don't believe Washington. They're probably not going to be in the same pace as they were a year ago, like Winnipeg, but I don't see them taking a huge spot back. So there's just one spot then for another team. And again, some of the other teams in that division, Columbus, where are they going to be at? Are they going to improve? I just think the Rangers need to show me, even in the first couple of months, they need to show me so much more than they did the entire season last year to make me get on that wagon and think, okay, this is a playoff team. Whether they finish 1, 2, 3 doesn't matter, but they're going to get in to one of those top 3. I'm still not sure.
I have them in the top 4, though. And that's what I'm looking at. If you're looking at the split, 4 out of the Atlantic, because that's how I do have it set up. 4 out of the Metro, I have them as the 4th team because I'm with you. How do you can't say Washington isn't a playoff team after what they accomplished last year.
No.
They're not going to finish with as many points, but they're still. Carolina is right up there. Now they have Nikolai Ehlers. That doesn't make them worse. All right. And then you have the team I think is going to finish top of the division in the New Jersey Devils.
Oh, you do?
So
okay.
I do.
Okay.
In Hughes is I trust. If Jack Hughes, and there's 2 of them, right?
That's good.
If Jack Hughes can stay healthy, and I know that's a massive if after the last 2 seasons when he only managed 62 games each. If he can stay healthy, and Nico Hischier can stay healthy, and Nemec, the young defender, takes another step forward, and that team just can develop the chemistry that they need. This is the best team in that division for me. See how Dadonov fits in as well. This is the best team. And I love the fact that Jack Hughes is pretty pissy right now. He's ornery. He's irritated after the last couple of seasons. And the shoulder surgery is good. He's fully recovered after the nasty hit. I think it was like March 1st last year. He's fully recovered. He's ready to go. And he's ornery. And that's how you want Jack Hughes to be.
When you have that kind of burning behind you, you have more of an incentive to perform on the ice. I'm in agreement with you. I'm going to go with Carolina with this.
I knew it. I knew you would. That was my other one.
A lot of it hinges on the goaltending. And you and I talked about this at length last year. In fact, I think since he even came into the league, well, specifically when he was with Toronto, Freddie Anderson, when he plays and when he's healthy, he just goes about his business.
He's dynamite.
He's quietly almost a Vezina Trophy winning goaltender almost every season, but it's the injuries. He can't escape the buck. So that's one huge if for me. But if you look at that team, you talk about the Devils being one of the better teams in that division. you can't give up on Carolina Hurricanes. They landed Nick Ehlers. I think that's a great deal. I think he's going to play very well with them. I know that they lost Keandre Miller, for example. That was one. But Sebastian Aho had a great season. Seth Jarvis, Jacob Slavin. They have some good pieces to that puzzle in Carolina. And anytime you have Rod the Bod behind the bench, Rod Brindamore to me is one of the best coaches. If he doesn't win the Jack Adams, whatever, he's still one of the best. So he's going to get as much out of his team as possible. Let's just hope they don't get to the postseason and get swept.
Yeah, that's the problem. They're the Winnipeg Jets of the East. It's it's same with Toronto with the Maple Leafs.
Yeah.
You know they're going to get there. Carolina's a playoff team unless the wheels really fall off large. Right. They're a playoff team, but then it's going to be show me what you got in the first round and then the second round and. Yeah. So, and Keandre Miller is still on the team, by the way. I think
that's
you were thinking
right.
About
when I did say that, that is correct. That is correct. It's going to so far.
We left the Rangers last year. Yeah.
Right. The three divisions we've done very close in the top three. Let's finish up with the Atlantic again. Greg Wyshynski is going to join us too. We're going to talk about the Connor McDavid signing, the new extension, and get into some other tidbits from in and around the NHL with Greg. Atlantic Division. So probably. I don't know, a number of weeks ago before Alexander Barkov got hurt, I would have said more than likely the Panthers, yes, Tkachuk would be out till at least December when he does come back. I would have thought, okay, the Panthers, yes, they signed everybody again. They're going to probably win that division. I'm not so sure. 1, 2, 3, I do believe, is going to be the same as it has been for a little bit in that Atlantic. The question is, of course, the order.
Tampa Bay Lightning are going to finish top of the Atlantic Division.
That's what I have to.
Maple Leafs are a playoff team. They're not as good without Mitch Marner. They need to replace him, and it's not with Michelli, and it's not with Nick Roy, and it's not with other players who are currently on that roster. They need something. They need a firecracker up front to replace Mitch Marner. They haven't gotten him yet. And I understand what True Living says. It's not like you can just pick them up off the floor. They're not available. They have to be available. I get that, but they're not quite the same. The loss of Barkov is massive for me. We talked about this last week. I don't think people are making a big enough deal about it. He is that player. He is a team-changing character.
He's so important to that team.
He's so important. Yeah. I still have the Florida Panthers as a playoff team, even without him. And hey, if they make it to the postseason, he could be back, especially second round-ish. These athletes heal super fast these days. So that, to me, by default, I look at the Tampa Bay Lightning, who still, by the way, have Kucherov. Hart nominee 2 years in a row. One of the best players. Yeah, pretty good guy. Vasilevsky says that his best goaltending is ahead of him, which is frightening as hell, right? To hear that, he feels good. The team is same construction as they were last year when they were a playoff team. Lost to Florida in the first round, but if they hadn't, who knows what we would have got out of them. Gensel's still there. I mean, I try to pick the teams that don't have the glaring weaknesses when I'm going to pick. Yep. And that, to me, is the Tampa Bay Lightning. They do not have any weaknesses, not obvious ones.
No, I agree with you with Tampa. I have Tampa winning that division. They had the number one ranked offense last season, 3.56 goals per game. So 3.5 goals per game, that's really, really good. And yes,
it was so quiet, too. Nobody talked about it.
Very quiet, very quiet.
Yeah.
Gensel, Point,
both
got past 40. Hagel had 35 goals and 90 points. So there's no reason to think that that's not going to happen again. So, yeah, I have Tampa with you. The one thing that bugs me, and I think they've got to just stop this, is going back and forth with the Panthers and the Lightning, especially in the preseason. I know you guys hate each other. Totally understand.
Right.
But someone's going to get really badly hurt, and then you're going to look back and think, is it really even worth it? It's the preseason. Get over it. Yes, there's been some nasty stuff. Save it for the postseason, because then if you are out, then you got some time to recover.
You're referencing the nonsense on the ice the other night when everybody's going at each other. It was dumb.
It's just
stupid.
Like I understand to make a point, and yes, there are things that have carried over, and the things that now will continue to carry over. But come on, man, these two teams are two of the best in the game. Don't make us think about you guys as physical, whatever, going at each other all the time. Anyway.
All right, we got Greg coming up, so we got to wrap this quick.
Yeah, okay, so Stanley Cup, let's go. Who's coming out of the West? Who's out of the East? Who's winning the Cup?
Vegas is winning the Cup. Let's say they beat the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Okay, I'm sticking
with Vegas over Lightning. There you go.
Vegas over Lightning. This is going to completely throw you off the loop, but I have Vegas, and I have Toronto, winning it. Let's go to the
I like it.
I know you do. I'm just saying I'm just completely going off the rails with this on every single thing that I'm on. Okay, Hart Trophy. So many great candidates coming into this season and coming out of it. Of course, you have the usuals. Who's your pick?
Kucherov, third time's a charm.
Kucherov, third time.
Third time is a charm. He was nominated the MVP by his peers last year, and he didn't win the Hart Trophy.
No,
and I think that sends a message to the Professional Hockey Writers Association. Hey, maybe you didn't get the right guy, and now let's get it right this time. If he puts up 100 kajillion points again, third time's a charm. Kucherov gets it.
That's a lot of points in 82 games, but
he's that good.
I'm going to say McDavid. He's got the new contract again starting in 26-27. Okay,
hard to argue.
Right? No, I know. But you know what? I wouldn't have gone with him if he didn't sign that deal. Now it's more, okay, here you go, Edmonton. Here's what I'm going to do again this season, and let's try to get this thing to a Stanley Cup champion. So anyway, a lot of fun. Season begins tomorrow on Tuesday. Greg Wyshynski, ESPN, is coming up next. Pucks and 7, Ryan Paton, Victoria.
Welcome back to Pucks and 7 with Ryan Paton and Victoria Matiash.
NHL season gets going tomorrow. This is Monday, October the 6th. Of course, Tuesday is the start of the 25-26 campaign, and Connor McDavid decided, well, today's the day to get a new deal done and ink that extension with Edmonton. And that meant that people like our guest, Greg Wyshynski, was busy doing what he does best and writing some great stuff, as always, for ESPN. Greg, appreciate the time. A little bit delayed, but obviously the big story today. Get into the season preview. McDavid, 2-year deal, $25 million, AAV 12.5. Surprising for you or no?
Surprised by the AAV, not by the term. I've been reporting this out for the last couple months that McDavid was going to take a short-term deal. I reported back in January and had some people not very happy with the report that he was not going to sign a long-term deal like Leon Draisaitl did, and that obviously turned out to be extremely true. Look, the term was always going to be pretty short. I know 2 years surprised some people, but that's kind of how it had been trending late in the talks. If you could call them talks. I mean, basically McDavid just had to say, I'm ready, and then they were going to put whatever contract he wanted in front of him, and that's kind of what happened on Monday morning. But the AAV really was a shock to me. Like, I knew he was going to take a discount. It was my understanding when we talked about a discount that it probably meant like 14.5, something above where Draisaitl was within the salary structure of the Edmonton Oilers. But he goes and takes a $12.5 million AAV. It's the same value that he has now on his contract, and gives the Oilers all kinds of salary cap space with which to work under a rising cap over the next 2 years beyond this one. So that was the big surprise to me, was where he ended up. He wasn't going to get paid like Kaprizov, but I certainly thought that his name would be atop the Puckpedia ranking of salaries for the Edmonton Oilers.
So when I first it scrolled through my social media and I saw the 25 million, my first instinct was that was the AAV. I was like, oh my God, they're paying him. How does that make sense? But that's how ludicrous the 12.5 felt to me. It's like it couldn't possibly be the total of the deal, right? So they're paying him 25 million now, which obviously isn't the case. In the frame of that, then, does this change your view of the Kaprizov deal at all? Did you like it in the first place?
I mean, like it's tough because obviously if you're the Minnesota Wild, your whole thing right now is Kaprizov. Like, he is your MVP. He's your franchise. If you let him slip away or potentially trade him, who knows what the next phase is going to be for you. So, the idea that you want to keep him at all costs, I get that. I think the player has some questions to answer with regard to how many games he actually does play in a season. Is that worth the money that he was given? But I mean, like, again, a player is worth whatever a team wants to give him, right? And if they wanted to offer him the largest contract in NHL history and then go a few million beyond that, I mean, it ain't my money. It's Craig Leopold's money.
Right.
But what's interesting about the McDavid deal, with regard to the AAV, is that, clearly if he was going to stay, he was going to stay at a price point that was going to enable Stan Bowman cap flexibility to build a winner around him. He's basically put a clock on this team. He's like Uncle Jimmy at the beginning of season 4 of The Bear. He puts the clock on the counter. You've got this amount of time to either be a success or we're going to close the restaurant. And so the Oilers now have this year and 2 more to finally crack the code and build a Stanley Cup winner around McDavid and Draisaitl. So he was always going to take less than market value to stay, because why else are you staying? You're staying, well, because your stuff is there, but also because you want to give your team the flexibility to do the things that you believe they need to do to win. Now, where we get into an interesting question is, Stan Bowman is now using McDavid's money. I mean, let's be honest. Like, McDavid took money out of his pocket and said to Stan Bowman, "Here is some money for you.
Go buy something
do
frilly."
The things, that you need to do." And the question becomes, like, does McDavid have a bit more influence now within the organization with how that money is managed? It's his money. I mean, we've always had that discussion about, like, how much influence does he have, considering the guy who coached him in junior just got a contract extension from the guy who runs the organization who used to be his agent.
Mm-hmm.
But now when there's, like, money out of pocket, like, how much more influence does McDavid have?
It's definitely a new era in terms of the influence the players now have over their teams. It didn't feel like this 15 years ago, even with the Sydneys and the Ovies, and it definitely has a different feel to it. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, what then, Greg, does this mean for some of the other 26 UFAs? Again,
Jack Eichel, Panarin.
Yeah, Jack Eichel, Panarin. I mean, obviously it's a sexy class going in. There's a couple of guys now off that list, but what does that mean for them?
Cale Makar.
With the situations that they're in too, yeah.
Well, first of all, the first way it impacts things is those teams no longer are keeping their powder dry for Connor next summer. Let's be honest. I mean, like, the Rangers thought they had a shot. Vegas might not have had the same shot, but hey, I mean, if you're Vegas, you think you have a shot at everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Dallas, I mean, I've heard Tampa Bay was one place. Like, there's a ton of different teams that thought maybe they could get this guy if he ever went to market, that are now going to pivot for at least the short term. So that's one thing. Eichel was always going to probably come in around 14, like kind of around the Draisaitl deal. That's still going to put more money in his pocket because of the state income tax situation in Nevada. So I think that contract is kind of where it's going to end up, and I think term was the interesting part of that contract and how long they wanted to go with Eichel in Vegas. Makar is the next one that's just like on a different plane of existence as far as like what his contract's going to look like. And it does become an interesting situation now, because if you're talking about market effects of the McDavid deal, I just wrote about this on ESPN.com in my winners and losers piece about the contract. I mean, we've talked about player empowerment. What about GM empowerment? What about a GM now being able to go to Cale Makar or whoever their big star player is and say, hey, look, Connor took that much money and left that much money on the table for the betterment of his team. It used to be that Sid was kind of the go-to example of this, and now it's going to be McDavid of, you can still make your money, we can give you a shorter term, but here's what we need if you want us to build a championship team around you and your other guys. And so I do wonder if that ultimately, it may not work, but at least it's going to be an arrow in the quiver for these guys.
It's interesting. Last week when we were doing, Ryan and I were on just after Kaprizov signed, and we were talking about how all the agents around the league are going out partying that night, right? Because it's now this new benchmark. And today feels very different. I don't think the agents feel like partying as much today, looking at that figure now. And I know it's in context, of course, it's completely different because it's a 2-year deal, and this is a sacrifice, like you just said. Here's Stan, here's some money, go and buy something good, and let's get a cup. But still, it's still a figure, and it's still something that has to be referenced.
It sucks for the NHLPA. I mean, like a rising tide. Yeah, a rising tide raises all boats, and this guy basically kept his dinghy in the dock for the most part, as far as like what his contract is, and so like it could still happen in a couple of years. I mean, if the contract is structured where he's going to become an unrestricted free agent in summer 2028 and still be very much in his prime and still be the most coveted free agent in the history of the National Hockey League, if he doesn't end up staying in Edmonton again, who's to say? But for now, they had to be just enormously happy with the Kaprizov contract. They probably had eyes on this next summer, and then for him to not only not go to UFA, but then also to take a steep haircut on his deal for the betterment of his team. I mean, that's not an argument the NHLPA wants to have to make to its players.
Absolutely not.
I've always said that I think he handled it very well, and he was up front right at the exit interviews too after the postseason. Like, hey, Edmonton, this is kind of where I'm at, and now you show me what to do. So, 2-year deal, $25 million extension,
So
AAV
wild.
at 12.5. Let's get to some of the stories coming out of camp, Greg. One of them, Vic is surprised that Matthew Schaefer made the Islanders. Are you in that camp?
No, not at all. I mean,
He's 12 years old.
Well,
like,
yeah,
he's so young.
Well, he's almost a teenager.
He's so young, but you need to. I mean, I think he's ready. To be honest with you, as a player, I think he's a brilliant young defenseman. But B, when the team starts selling tickets around your uniform number, which is what the Islanders started to do this summer after Schaefer was drafted, it's kind of a tell that they expect you're going to be there,
right?
And so they were pricing their tickets to his uniform number, and when that happened, I'm like, oh, of course he's going to be on the roster. I talked to Schaefer at the NHLPA Rookie Showcase. He's got a great perspective on this season, which is that he's happy to be third pairing or wherever they put him in the lineup. He just wants to get in there and learn and start playing. And so, his personality is infectious. His enthusiasm is something that I think this franchise needs. And when you have a marquee player that you draft first overall, it's only natural that they're going to put him on the roster immediately.
Even as a defenseman, I thought Patrick Waugh was telling us to cool our heels a little bit, that, this might be, but I know he messes with us all the time. Any other surprises out of camp for you? I know the Schaefer isn't a surprise to you, but is there any other roster decisions or anything that happened in the last 2 to 3 weeks that caught you a little off guard?
Not so much as guys making teams, but more along the lines of like how teams are structuring their rosters currently. For example, the Florida Panthers, right? So obviously a huge story out of camp is losing Sasha Barkov for the entirety of the regular season. And I was curious how they were going to restructure their lineup around that loss and the loss of Matthew Tkachuk. And it looks like what they're going to end up doing is try to put together a line of Carter Verhaeghe, Sam Bennett, and Brad Marchand to start the season. So a little bit of line shuffling there. It does mean that Sam Reinhart will play down with Anton Lundell and Listerainen, where Marchand's spot used to be. And so that begs the question of how good is Reinhart without Barkov? And if you look at his numbers over the last 2 years without Barkov, the offense isn't there as far as the explosiveness of it. I think if you look at the numbers, the Panthers score as much as they give up with Reinhart on the ice without Barkov next to him. And so they need him to sort of step up and really drive a line until Tkachuk gets back in December or January. And it's one of the reasons why I'm real curious as to what the Panthers end up doing in the first few months of the season and how that ultimately affects their potential of making or missing the playoffs.
I said this to Vic already in the show. The Lightning Panthers shenanigans in the preseason, they're tiring. At least to me. Like, enough's enough. I get you hate each other, and I know there's bad blood. Totally understand that. But I don't want to be sitting in their home. Yeah, people like to watch that stuff. But the Panthers and the Lightning, two of the best teams in the league. You're way better than what you're doing. I know you got to stick up for your teammates, all that. Where are you on that? You a bit tired about the whole thing in the preseason or not?
No, it's the best rivalry that hockey has outside of USA Canada, and anything that helps to stoke that rivalry and give us a marquee matchup that people pay attention to is only a good thing. I mean, for years the NHL has tried to market rivalries at a time when the definition of the term no longer fits what we see on the ice. I mean, the days of the blood feud of Colorado and Detroit are far gone. Even the nastiness that we saw between like Washington and Pittsburgh and I remember there was a Blackhawks Canucks rivalry for a few years too that was like real fun to watch when Ryan Kessler was there. So the fact that we have one that is not only actual hatred between these teams,
it's organic.
Also, it's organic, and it's geographic, and it's also two really good hockey teams too, where they can stand toe to toe because they both have won multiple cups within the last decade. Like, I think that's only a good thing for the sport, and I don't mind the shenanigans at all.
When we were talking about Florida just a second ago too, you floated make the playoffs or not. Are you entertaining the idea that the Florida Panthers without Sasha Barkov might miss out on a playoff spot?
And Matthew Tkachuk.
Yes,
You know,
he's back in December, but yes, the two of them.
He's back in December. There's a lot of games before December, Vic.
Yeah, that's true.
And here the reason why I think they make the playoffs is because of the conference that they're in. Full stop.
Okay.
Like, I mean, I don't have them in my top 3 in the Atlantic. I think it's Tampa on top, then probably Ottawa, then probably Toronto. But again, when you look at the totality of the Eastern Conference, who is jumping up over the Florida Panthers to earn a wild card spot? And again, when your mentality in Florida is just get in and win, that extends to knowing that Barkov probably will be able to come back in the playoffs if you go deep enough. It's with knowing that Chuck will be there. It's with knowing that Bill Zito will have some flexibility to add something else, and usually that's a significant something else when you're the Panthers.
Sure.
And that your structure is good enough to qualify. But I mean, when you think about the years that Paul Maurice has been in Sunrise, like, this is the hardest invitation to the party he's had to earn because of the injury situation, because of some of the other teams in your division being ascendant. So I don't think they win the division. I'd be surprised if they finish top 3. But I also think that they're better than, whoever else is nipping at their heels for the wild card in the East.
Okay.
I heard this years ago, and it stuck with me since. You can't gain and lock down a playoff spot in the first few months of an NHL season, but you can lose a playoff spot in the first. Of
course,
few
you
months.
can.
So to your point about the amount of games,
ask the Sabres every year.
Right, every year. Yeah, are they going to be different? No, we're not going to get.
No, I don't want to talk about Buffalo.
No. Let's talk about the Sabres.
Okay, go ahead.
So here's the thing: on paper, they look like the same group that they've had forever. And, with the goaltending where it's more cross your fingers than Vezina worthy, and a bunch of guys that could be good, but maybe not, all the injury concerns compounded by having Josh Norris on the roster, like, they look like the same group. But if you look, and you guys might have seen this, when you look at the previews that are out from our friends in the analytics community, they all have the Sabres pegged for over 90 points. Evolving Hockey has them at 98 points. And so there's a lot on this roster that seems to portend them being pretty good. And again, there's some things we know are going to be good. Tage Thompson's going to be good.
Tage Thompson is a beast. He's one of my favorite players.
Yeah, yes. Rasmus Dahlin's going to be a Norris contender. They've got some ascendant young players and some guys that are on the roster now that are better than what they've had as a supporting cast. But there is a huge disconnect right now between the sports books, the fans, and what the analytics community is telling us about the Sabres team. So in the conversation about who's going to jump up, who's going to be the next Ottawa or Montreal to make the leap, it could, if you listen to this to the fancy stats, it could be the Sabres.
I can't see it, but yes.
I was going to say, what do you think, Vic?
My stomach just tells me numbers, schmumbers, and I'm not anti-stats. I use them. I borrow people's work all the time, usually to prove my own point that I already believe in, but still, I borrow it all the time. So, and I appreciate the numbers, but it's just still, I think they're 2 steps behind. What is a storyline otherwise that you're looking forward to this season? Just in general. It can be Olympics, it can be anything.
Now that McDavid's done, it's Sid. I feel bad for Sid. At least Sid was sharing the spotlight for a while with McDavid as far as, like, whose future are we talking about this week? But now that McDavid's probably put that conversation off until September 2027. Like, Crosby's the guy that we're all focused on. Crosby's going to be the fuel of the rumor mill. He's going to be the headline on every trade board. Every Penguins loss, and there's going to be a lot of Penguins losses, are going to increase the volume of the chatter about what his future is going to be. And where we're at with that, from my understanding and my conversations during the offseason, including with Sid himself, is everyone wants him to leave except for Sid. And so, whether it's friends or agents or confidants or whomever, like, everyone wants him to go and play in the playoffs again and be somewhere else that's contending for a Stanley Cup. And Sid is not quite there yet mentally. Maybe he'll get there after a bunch of Penguins losses and feeling the glory of championship contention with Team Canada. But as it stands right now, we're not there yet. I just think it's dumb if he decides to move in the summer. Like, call your shot at the deadline when you can see what the field looks like, when you can see who is within reach of a cup. And so I believe he's going to leave Pittsburgh this year.
Do you?
Yeah,
Okay.
I do. But we'll see where it ends up.
He's loyal. He's as loyal as they come.
But they can use that, though. The Penguins can use that. If this is somebody who's going to be a part of this organization after his playing career, which wouldn't shock any of us, I don't believe. And if he wants to be a company man, Dubas says, hey, you're going to do the best thing for the company by letting us move you for a short period of time, because then we're going to, bring something back to bolster the organization. I think that's the argument you make, that maybe he can digest and then he doesn't feel so treacherous.
Yeah, and
right?
as you know, that argument always wins, as Matt Sundin showed us.
Yeah, that's true. We're going to get to one more and then go into 77 seconds with you, Greg. January 23rd, it's one of the most anticipated returns in the NHL this season. Mitch Marner back to Toronto for the first time since becoming a Vegas Golden Knight. What kind of reception is he going to get?
It's gonna be John Tavares times 10. Like, it's because like not only because they already painted him as a pariah for their postseason lack of success, but because he turned around and talked about like how mean the city was to him. And granted, I don't want to diminish the fact that this guy felt unsafe and that he felt his family was unsafe and he had to have security and all this other stuff. I'm not trying to diminish that, but the basis of the argument, insofar as why I've left Toronto, part of it was because of how I was treated by Toronto. And so that's something Tavares never said. I mean, Tavares basically said, I love Long Island. It's just that I had, Leafs sheets when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what Marner leaving as a symbol of Maple Leaf failure, and then on top of that, sort of like bemoaning the city and bemoaning the fans and bemoaning his treatment on the way out, was just
over and over and over again. Like the articles are just coming out one after the other. That's what I don't quite get.
So I it's going to be cruel, and it's going to be nasty, and it's going to be vulgar, and it's going to. I mean, I covered Tavares' return to Long Island, and they were running over his jersey with cars in the parking lot. And throwing snakes on the ice. Yeah. Like, I mean,
we're so childish. Sports fans are so childish.
That's gonna look like someone's bat mitzvah compared to what they're gonna do to Marner in Toronto.
Mitch is going to be day to day with a groin injury on January 22nd.
Oh no, he's playing. He's going to want to play. I'm going to guarantee that. All
right, let's get into 77 seconds with Greg again. Timer's not on, but we're going to go quick. 7 questions, just one-word answers if you can. We first had, does Crosby finish the season as a Penguin? And you said no, so we're not going to start with that. We'll start with this. What team exceeds expectations for you, and what team does not?
Utah exceeds expectations. I think they're going to be a playoff team. What team does not? I mean, I guess by default, Florida would be the choice, because I mean, I think they're going to be a wild card team. Well, maybe others have them in the top 3. I also think that in order for Utah to make the playoffs, that means someone's not going to make the playoffs. I think that team's probably going to end up being, it could be anybody from Winnipeg, Minnesota, or St. Louis.
Does Ovi retire after this season?
It's an interesting question, because I tend to believe the answer is yes, but I've also heard from people that know him and that are with the Caps organization that if he goes out and scores another 44 goals, he could play another season. I do know that, obviously, like, he's already called a shot that it's going to be like a Gretzky retirement if it's his last season, where he's going to let everybody know, like, with a month left, and then it'll just become a free-for-all of gift giving in the locations that he plays in after that. I would lean yes, but I wouldn't set it in concrete.
When do we see a player paid more than $20 million?
Wow, that's a good question. I would probably say it won't happen until summer 2028.
Okay. It's going to be that long.
I mean, listen, Kaprizov is 17, and that contract seemed grandiose. And I know Makar is coming up, but I mean, you have the McKinnon situation there too, where, like, do you really want to look at Nate every day when you've taken a contract that puts a stranglehold on your team salary cap going forward? I mean, I don't know. It's possible somebody else jumps up and grabs it, but I mean, I think Connor would be the obvious choice.
In the playoffs,
or Matthews, because we didn't talk
about
the fact that they are both free agents in the same offseason and share the same agent. So see how that goes.
In the playoffs, who comes out of the West?
Colorado.
Oh, Ryan, you have a buddy.
I am too. Who comes out of
Yeah,
the
I thought
East?
that was a hot take until I started to see people, not only people like you, but others kind of predict Colorado would be the team. And in fact, I think I just heard from our friend Vin Massey today that the prognostication is that Colorado will be the team out of the West. And I thought I was hot shotting it, but I might be the majority now. I don't know.
I still
you.
like
I'm
Vegas.
with you with that.
I like Vegas this year a lot.
Colorado out of the West. Who comes out of the East? And then if you have Colorado out of the West and whoever East is, who wins the Cup?
I have Carolina out of the East in the Sons of Mikko Rantanen Stanley Cup final. And I have Colorado winning the Cup.
Who wins the World Series? Last one.
Not the Mets again. It's funny. I was at first rooting for the Dodgers because I'm just so impressed with how they play, and I guess that might be just my humbling as a Mets fan from last postseason. But then I remembered that we do have a World Series of never have ones that's on the table, which is the Brewers and the Mariners. So I'd like to see that. Secretly, I want the Brewers. I grew up a Robin Yount fan as a kid. But my wife's a Cubs fan when she's not a Mets fan, so I can't outwardly root for the Brewers, I don't think, because they're playing the Cubs right now.
A lot of great teams left, so we'll see. World Series is going to be here before we know it. The NHL too, it's going to begin tomorrow on Tuesday, 25-26 campaign. Greg Wyshynski, ESPN, thank you for this. Appreciate it on the day that McDavid re-signed, so we appreciate you doing this.
Anytime.
This has been Pucks in 7, available on the SiriusXM app and wherever you get your podcasts.